Hello there and welcome back to Not the Day Job Pod. I am one of your hosts, Jacob, and with me as always is my co-host, Corey. Garett can't be with us today. The day job got in the way. Boo. But we have two special guests tonight. We have Corey's wife, Mikah.
Hey.
And Corey's wife's dad / his father-in-law.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair tonight. We have Chris with us today.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
What's happening? So thanks for joining us, guys. As always, Not the Day Job Pod is a podcast that talks about hobbies, sports, and entertainment, basically anything that isn't our day job. That's what we want to talk about. So to get things started, we're going to kick it to Corey. Corey, what's good?
Not too much in the sports world is good, I'd say, or not in the NFL at least, just because
some bad juju out there.
There's been some bad stuff going on in the NFL. We had Kareem Hunt get dropped from the Chiefs. That was 100% his fault. He got in an altercation with a woman.
He's a bad man.
Yes, he is. And so he got dropped right before the Chiefs are entering into the playoffs. So they're on a really hot streak right now. But the NFL is getting real close to the playoffs. So there's a lot of needy, greedy stuff going down. Some bad mojo. But with the Green Bay Packers too, not very good news. Mike McCarthy got fired from his head coaching job. He's been the head coach there for the past 13 seasons.
In Green Bay?
Yep, in Green Bay. I guess there was reports saying that him and Aaron Rodgers weren't getting along too well. Mm-hmm. But Aaron Rodgers refuted that. He said that they were doing just fine and they were actually the closest they've ever been this season. So who knows? What's true with that.
Right.
But also today the Packers fired their assistant coach. I forget his name. I think he's been with McCarthy coaching there for the past 13 seasons too.
Were they hired the same year?
Yes, I think so.
Hired and fired.
Hired and fired the same year, yeah. But McCarthy won a Super Bowl in 2010. So he had a pretty successful run with the Green Bay Packers. But it seems like once teams in any league, any sport, they get closer to the playoffs, they start to make moves. I don't know if the GMs or whatnot are getting scared just because they're going into the playoffs and they're seeing, they're trying to either make moves for next season or to build on the season that they're having right now.
Right.
But it just seems like once they get close to the playoffs, things get a little bit more real. But that's pretty much it for the NFL with big news. In the NBA, it's still pretty early in the season. The Nuggets are top of the Western Conference right now.
And not too long ago, the Blazers were at the top, weren't they? What happened there?
They, just like I said earlier, they dropped off. They always drop off. They are 13-11 now. Yeah,
what was it, 2 weeks ago, 2 episodes ago that we were talking about they were sitting on top, and both you and Garett both said, yeah, that's probably not going to last long. And 2 weeks later, here we are.
Every year, it seems. Yep. So Denver is in the first spot in the West at 16-7.
Go Nuggets.
Toronto is still at the top of the East. They have been since the first week of the league. They're at 20-5.
Wow, that's
so
really
they're killing it. Yeah, they're playing really good basketball. Some local stuff though. The Timbers are headed to the MLS Cup Finals against Atlanta United. They beat Kansas City in the Western Conference Finals last week. I think it was like 3-2, so it was a pretty good game. Mm-hmm. They've had a really good season. They had a really slow start, but they ramped it up in the second half. And then also, probably the biggest news in sports in Portland in a while is that baseball is coming back to Portland, and it is in the MLB, not a minor league team. We had the Beavers for a while, and they got dropped for the Timbers, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so
how long ago was this?
When I was a kid, one of our neighbors was the bat boy for the Beavers.
No kidding.
So he would come home with bats and paraphernalia, and so that was.
Well, you're 82?
That must have been,
what? No,
mid-'80s.
Okay. Long time.
Yeah, the 60s?
When was that?
Come on now.
The dinosaurs were around. No.
So they were still going strong back then.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a long time.
Long time.
And we have the Hillsboro Hops out there.
Yeah.
They're AAA, aren't they?
They're AAA for the Diamondbacks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as crazy as that is, but yeah. So they're coming to, is it T3 or T2 that they're
T2.
T2 is where they're building the stadium. If you are living in Portland, you can see that from the Fremont Bridge if you're driving across that. Pretty cool spot right on the Willamette River.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at I think it's on Instagram, you can see the pictures at Portland Diamond Project PDX, I think is their handle.
That's all one word?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Say it
And
again?
Portland Diamond Project PDX.
Yeah, so follow that if you want to keep up to date on the updates and news for this new Portland team. So, Corey, tell us, when is this supposed to be, like, do you know when they're breaking ground? When are they expected to be done?
They want first pitch to be thrown in 2022. So that means that the team's ready, players are ready. Obviously, the stadium's built. So that's only 4 years away.
Well, think about it. We're at the end.
Yeah, that's true. Uh-huh.
We're at the end of 2018, and they usually start in March or April. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking just over 3 years. That's a
So details haven't really come out yet, but they're either going to have to draft a new team, a whole new team, or I don't know what the word is, but pull players that are already in the league.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how that goes. That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it's coming really fast.
Yeah, and also like getting the whole front office, like a team owner and
Yep.
the
Yeah.
coaches and all of that. This is a big project
Yeah.
that they're taking on, not just construction wise, but also building a team from the ground up.
And these
this is
pictures
exciting.
are awesome. I mean, it's going to be like a state-of-the-art stadium, retractable roof, obviously because the weather in Portland is pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so if anyone has been to Safeco Field up in Seattle, what it sounds like it's going to be pretty similar to that.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And it was kind of nuts because when we wanted to go see the MLB teams play, I mean, I know we did it a couple times. We drove all the way to Seattle to go see baseball.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really cool to drive.
Yeah, and for us it's like a 4-hour drive, I think, to Seattle.
Right. So now we can drive 20, 25 minutes and go see a game right in our hometown. That'll be sweet, but I don't think, have you been to a baseball game?
I've never been to a baseball game.
So it'll be cool to
Nope.
see it right here in Portland.
I went to my first soccer game with you not too long ago, this season for the Timbers, I believe.
Yep.
And I've never been to a baseball game. Baseball is actually one of the sports that I don't mind watching on TV. I'm
Yeah.
not a huge sports fan, but kind of unlike basketball and football, there's not a bunch of hidden meanings and weird, it always cracked me up because I would think nothing would be wrong. I'd watch these guys go up to the hoop, and I'm like, yeah, he got it. And Corey's like, oh, no, something's very wrong. And they're like, no, did you see his pinky? His pinky touched this, and because of this and this and this rule, and
It's
he
not
touched
that
it, and he-
technical. It's
and
not
that's
that
what it
technical.
feels like to me.
Yeah.
not
That's what it
being,
feels like, yeah.
exposed to that growing up so much. But I really enjoyed going to that soccer game because there's only one little small weird rule about running beside other players that Corey explained to me for 10 seconds. And you know what? You watched it and you understood it. And even if you weren't previously exposed to this kind of stuff, you understood what was going on. You got to cheer for whoever
Soccer's
you wanted
pretty
to cheer
simple.
for. And I feel like mostly baseball is going to be kind of similar for me. I can watch it. I can understand immediately. I don't have to go and read 2 books of dummies. What's it called? Baseball for dummies.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm pretty excited
Chill
about that.
sport.
Just to enjoy it, because that's what I'm all about with sports. Is if I can look at it and enjoy it rather than dig deep into it and
Yeah.
get really technical.
Baseball is tagged America's pastime.
Yeah.
That's what I want to
You
do.
know, it's like
pastime and eat a hot dog.
It's you go to a baseball game, or not a baseball game, but a basketball game, or even a soccer game here in Portland, and it's crazy. The fans are crazy. The atmosphere is crazy. But you go to a baseball game anywhere, and unless it's the playoffs or something huge is happening, they're all sitting down.
Opposite teams are high fiving,
Yeah, right. It's all it's really chill
catching
sport.
popcorn in each other's mouths.
Well, that's even how many years ago was that? 2 years, 3 years ago that we went to that Seattle game, and then when they played the Angels came up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, we're all, even though we live here in the Northwest, we're all Anaheim Angels fans, and so we all had Angels hats on, and we were walking through the stadium with our heads held high. People were kind of dogging us a little bit, but it was always respectable, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And where we were sitting, we were obviously surrounded by Mariners fans, and
Ooh.
yeah,
Red.
yeah, we stood out, but they were very respectful. The Angels ended up winning that game, and they didn't harass us or anything. Like it was legitimately a good game. One of the Angels pitchers got hurt really bad. He took a line drive to the forehead, and the whole stadium went quiet.
Yeah.
So it's just incredible to see that level of respect.
He got up too and walked off, and then he had a standing ovation too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's funny because that Timbers game we went to, there was this tiny little corner of a section where it was LA that they were playing against.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was sitting too close to that section. Like they were kind of freaking me out.
Yeah.
Because
Soccer's really
at
rowdy.
all times there was like security lining it and people trying to get through and saying all sorts of scary profanities and throwing things.
Yelling at each other.
Whew,
Soccer's a
I'm
nasty
super
sport to
glad
be a
I'm
fan
not
of.
over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Garett and I a couple years ago went to a Timbers game, and that was the first time I had been to a soccer game. And if anyone's ever been to a Portland Timbers game, you'll know what we're talking about. But it is crazy. All like the chants and the
Jumping
energy.
up and down.
It's a religion.
Yeah,
the
it
energy
is
is crazy.
The Timbers
It
Army.
made me a little uncomfortable a couple of times, but it was kind of exciting to be part of that.
Right.
But again, it's a huge difference compared to baseball. I'm not saying that baseball fans don't get rowdy. They do.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a different energy.
And that's the thing. I felt kind of stupid sitting there being like, I don't really know anything about this. I don't feel committed to this. So people were looking at me like, why aren't you cheering? Why don't you understand what's going on? And I feel like baseball, I could just sit there and nobody would judge me. I could be like, oh, that's cool. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, that's kind of my fault because I didn't expose her to sports, because sports
How
really
dare
are.
you deprive her?
I know. Well, that's not my thing, right? But I've always loved baseball since I was a kid. So of all the sports,
He's always kept a baseball right in his truck, baseball bat.
I always
There
have
it is.
That's funny. That's funny.
I like the sport
For playing baseball.
But so of all the sports, I can follow baseball. It's not too
Yeah.
fast. It's kind of laid back and more my style. I can't follow basketball. It's way too fast, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I like the Mariners because it's the closest thing we have to a local team. So if we get that team here in Portland, I'm switching like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Like even though if they may not be a successful team by any
They're going to
standard,
have so much support.
they're gonna have a lot of
Well,
support.
what's cool, is I was gonna say that about Portland is the Blazers, the Timbers. Those are the only major league teams that we have.
And I feel like they're
Winterhawks.
very well loved.
Winterhawks are
Hockey.
yeah, but they're not a major league. They're a minor league hockey
Well,
team.
shows you how much I know about
Yeah.
sports stuff.
But
That's why this is Corey's
But any,
section.
well, that's
The
a
one
good
with the
point though.
stick.
It's a good point though because they're a minor league team and Portland still rallies around them.
Yeah.
Portland is like crazy for sports, and we haven't had a baseball team or professional baseball team ever.
Yeah,
So
The
it's like
Pickles.
the Portland
now who?
Pickles.
What are they? Minor league or are they
They're
even
probably
lower
nothing.
than that?
Aren't they just like friends?
I think it's just
They're
like
friends.
It's just like a super organized Sandlot game, basically.
That
That's
sounds great.
crazy. But what my point is Portland is going to support this team like crazy
Oh,
if,
yeah.
if
Yeah.
which,
Well,
when it happens.
We
Yeah.
live in Camas, right, which is across the river from Portland. We grew up, well, my family grew up in Portland. But even in Camas, I will see, I don't know if anybody knows about this, but the Portland store is super backing the Diamond Project.
Right.
And all their hats, they were just normal Portland hats, and inside the P there's a little Oregon symbol or like the outline of the state, and everybody's like, oh yeah, go Portland. And as soon as this baseball came out, everybody, they switched the hats immediately to support that.
But isn't that a different? That's not Portland gear that's doing that, right? That's actually the Diamond Project.
Right, but I think they're supporting each
Yeah.
other.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
the point is, even up here in Washington, I'll be like deep in Vancouver, which is good 45 minutes sometimes from Portland, and I see people with those hats on, and I'm like, do you even live here? No, you don't. I just saw your license plate. It's Washington.
Right.
But like I'm excited that other people are excited for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. There's a lot of positive, a lot of
And
positives
I'm
to
like,
take away
it'll
from
never
this.
happen.
Yeah.
Because this was not even. It was kind of a dream even a week ago, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it
remember-
was. Yeah.
I remember Corey talking about it a
you're
couple
like,
of months
eh,
ago, and like it was
30
something
years
where,
from now.
yeah, this is maybe in the works, and now it's for
really
sure
picking up
thing.
momentum.
It's happening,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is something that we'll definitely keep tabs with. I'd imagine if anything comes up big news-wise, we'll definitely mention it here.
Yeah.
But again, let them know where they can follow the updates. Corey, what was that Instagram page again?
Portland Diamond
I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah,
Yep.
look up the actual handle. I want to make sure I'm giving out the right plug.
Yeah.
But they're really cool because they but you can go buy their gear, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats. Chris bought me a hat, and it just helps fundraise the project. It's called PDX Diamond Project, but
So the handle is no spaces, all lowercase, Portland Diamond Project
On Instagram.
on Instagram.
And they probably have like a link in their bio that takes you to
They
their...
do, to the
Okay.
portlanddiamondproject.com.
Okay, yeah. So 2 places. If you want to keep up with that, check it out. This is something very exciting for the Portland area.
yep.
Very
But
cool.
that's about it for the sports. That was probably the most exciting thing I wanted to talk about was baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, and not to bring up the day job, but my dad works right there, like that, the terminal. And
That's
you
right,
keep seeing
yeah.
T2, T this. We're talking about the terminals because Portland is a very port-oriented city.
Portland, one would
Portland.
say.
Land.
Imagine
I
that.
remember realizing that at a very old age. Like, why did I never? No, never happened. Going across the bridge, and I was like, wait a second, guys, hold on. So you were telling me a little bit about how, I mean, there's lots of railroads that go through there, and they obviously can't cross over those. Do you know anything about like how they're going to section it off, or?
I don't, but I know that there's only a limited amount of land that's still available that's not taken up by condos and whatnot. So they're going to have to somehow acquisition that land and
Build up.
So as from my day job will be impacted by that. Hopefully it's for the best, but hopefully we stand to gain from that
Right.
as a community, but also as as a day job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
It's kind of important, even though we don't like talking about it. The
Yeah.
day
Right.
job is important.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Super cool stuff.
Jake, what's cool?
What's cool? What's good?
What's good, Jake?
What's good? So, I like to talk about Star Wars news, obviously. So, 2 weeks, I think, in a row, I didn't have any good Star Wars news. But then
I think it was only a week.
only a week.
I think it was only a week.
Felt like 2. Not talking about Star Wars hurts sometimes. No. So, on Wednesday, November 28th, StarWars.com announced that they were going to start another official Star Wars YouTube page called Star Wars Kids. And it was going to be dropping these short episodes called Galaxy of Adventures. And they dropped a few episodes on Friday the 30th, again on this YouTube channel. These are just a minute long. And what they're saying by saying this is Star Wars Kids is basically, hey, this is a playground for kids. Adults are welcome too, but like, don't complain that the monkey bars are only 4 feet off the ground and the slide is super short with no curves. Like, this is for kids,
Yeah.
but adults are welcome too. I've watched all of them. I know you guys have seen a few.
How many are there so far?
Let's see. We
total?
have a total of 6 character episodes, and then there are 3 episodes called Fun Facts. But so far, this just feels like a best of the original trilogy. The first one that they started with was Luke Skywalker, and that's where the journey of Star Wars originally begins. It shows him staring out at the twin sunset, dreaming of adventure, and then him meeting up with old Ben Kenobi and getting his father's lightsaber. The next episode is entitled Darth Vader, Power of the Dark Side, and that one takes place at the end of Rogue One, the Hallway of Death, where he just destroys all those rebels.
That's the one I saw.
Yeah. And like, for being a kids show, I thought that one was actually rather graphic. I mean, you don't see him do the gut splitting that he did in Rogue One, but it's still, he's mowing down rebels and it's
Bouncing them off the ceiling and the walls. Yep.
Yeah, tearing him apart. It's pretty brutal for a kids show. I think this might be for, I don't know,
Tweens,
tweens maybe, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
not 3-year-olds.
Not 5 and under. I don't think. I'm not a parent. I don't know.
Not
I don't know.
quite.
They're good. Like, I watched it, and it was, for me, sometimes stuff in Star Wars is hard to catch on to, and a little bit hard to understand, as dumb as that sounds sometimes. But, like, stuff like this helps. even though it's for or geared towards kids, like you watch these and like you said, they're super short, easy to understand.
They fill in your little gaps.
Right. And so they make Star Wars more easy to understand even for adults or for people who are older.
Right. So those are just the first 2 episodes, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And then the third episode was Luke versus the Wampa. And that was from Empire Strikes Back, where the Wampa has him in the cave and he's frozen to the ceiling. Now, they definitely took some creative liberties in this one, where Luke's doing flips and he cuts the Wampa's arm off, but then he does other things and he like cuts a pillar and the cave collapses, and it's a lot more dramatic than what actually happens in the movie. The next one is R2-D2, a loyal droid, Chewbacca, the trusty co-pilot, and then Darth Vader again, and this one's entitled Might of the Empire. I don't know. I'm going to go over like a couple things that I thought were hits for these, is I think that they're definitely a great way to introduce kids to the stories of the original trilogy without having to actually watch them, because kids, they're pretty ADD these days and they're impatient, and some of them might say that the original trilogy are boring movies, but they're vital to understand the entire Star Wars mythos. And then YouTube, these are short, concise, to the point stories. Mikah?
This might be a little reading too much into it, but I also kind of love Lucasfilms for doing things like this. It's entitled Star Wars Kids, am I right?
That's
Not
the
Star
YouTube
Wars
page.
For kids.
Right.
Which makes me feel like, not that it's aimed towards like my generation, but my dad definitely has bins and bins of Star Wars toys. Like,
Yeah.
that was the Star Wars generation. And
Right.
then these are Star Wars' kids. Like,
Yeah.
not just
True.
Star Wars for kids, but like the OG, like, we love Star Wars generation. It's their kids that might not understand, like, why is my dad so into Star Wars? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I think also
That's a good
I think
point,
they
yeah.
might be, I think maybe, I don't know, I've been thinking about this. I think that is what they're doing too, is that it's not just for kids. It's not like we're going to change our entire demographic. It's not like, oh, we're going to dumb this down, but they want the Star Wars kids to understand why this was such a cool thing for like their parents, and why this was such a huge part of their lives, if it was not just like, we're going to change it and here market this to make money. It's like, we want the kids of these OG Star Wars parents to understand why this was such an awesome thing.
Yeah. And like just going back to it, it's like, yes, you know, Chris and I grew up with the original trilogy, and if you compare it to movies that come out today, they are a little bit slower, like in their pacing and
They're
their
actually
plotting.
creating a story.
Yeah, they're very story driven. There are some great action sequences, but kids these days would think those moments are boring. And to be honest, some of the moments that I thought were really boring as a kid, like the conference room with Moff Tarkin in A New Hope, where, you know, the regional governors will now have complete control over the territories. I thought that was boring when I was a kid, but now I'm like, dude, this is like super brief, to the point, telling us what the political situation of this galaxy is. And now I love that type of stuff. But kids, by and large, can look at these movies and be like, it's kind of boring. You can show them these shorts, and they're like, wow, you know, I just know the story of the entire original trilogy in a matter of 8 minutes, and they're not really missing much. And then when they get older and can have a little bit more appreciation for it, then you can reintroduce those movies to them. But these short, concise, this is Star Wars, this is what I fell in love with, here's a brief introduction to it. And then they can watch the Clone Wars cartoons or Rebels, which are really great cartoons and geared towards kids like this more.
That's so cool. When you first showed it to me, I thought it was like someone who was doing it on their own, like making these cartoons on their own.
Like an independent person?
Right. Or independent YouTuber. And then you told me it was actually Lucasfilms or, you know,
Disney Lucasfilm, yeah.
And it was like, wow, that's super cool that they're actually doing this just for kids. I thought it was some independent person, which would have been cool too, but it wouldn't have been as much of a like a factually correct video as Lucasfilms or Disney doing it.
You know, there is some pretty good fan-based animation out there. There's one called Star Wars TIE Fighter, I believe it's called. And if Lucas or Disney doesn't do it, well, somebody else is gonna do it.
Right.
And I just read an article about these new Galaxy of Adventure shorts, And people were up in arms because it's not new material. They were complaining that, are they rehashing old stuff?
Right.
But like you said, it's not for us. We already know the story, and
That's a good point.
It's
Yeah.
for the next generation. But why would you complain about anything that they're given? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People complain for a long time. Well, they're not giving us anything new. They're not putting anything new out. They would have taken anything, and now they're putting out all sorts of a variety of media, and people complain about it. So I think for what it is, it's really well done.
Yeah.
And just appreciate it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're making it more accessible, because the original trilogy was so, I guess you'd say, niche. Like back in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was a pretty small group of people, relatively, that were Star Wars fans, even though it was a big commercial success. But now that Disney owns it, they want everyone to be a Star Wars fan. They're making it accessible and likable for everyone. So the more accessible they make it, that means there's just going to be different parts of it that you personally don't have the taste for. There are some of the cartoons that I personally don't like, but other people love that. Who am I to say they shouldn't make this stuff that other people love? If that's their gateway to loving Star Wars,
Yeah.
why should I hate on that?
You don't like it, don't watch it.
Exactly.
that's
If it's
awesome.
not for you, it's not for you. You know, it didn't ruin how great the original trilogy was to you. The original trilogy still exists. Or if you're a person that loves the prequels, this doesn't change the prequels. They still exist. You can still love that. You know, focus on the things that you love than focusing on the things that you hate that other people love. It's just
Right.
not, it's a negative, terrible negative way to look at things.
I remember watching the original ones when they'd come out in the theater, and then you'd have to wait like 6 years before they got released on VHS.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'd show them every 3 to 4 years. They'd show it on TV, so it was very difficult to see these movies time and time again. So they really are making it easy to get your fill for sure.
Yeah. It's almost oversaturation with Star Wars, but I don't know. You can just put a filter on yourself and pick and choose what you like. There's so much out there. Another hit that I wanted to say that these shorts did is I love the animation personally. I'm a guy that loves cartoons and animated shows, and I would definitely watch a complete retelling of the entire Star Wars saga done in this animation style and this kind of like elaborate, over the top. I just like character acting. You know, when Luke gets handed a lightsaber, he's flipping it around, and but that didn't happen in the original movie. He just turns it on and kind of like waves it around a bit. But I don't know, seeing like he turns on a lightsaber and the whole room goes dark and his hair gets blown back and he imagines himself standing on this mountaintop doing all these crazy lightsaber moves. I would love to see the entire Star Wars story retold in this animation, because what they're doing is they're taking the original sound clips from the movies, like the original dialogue. They're cutting it and putting it in here. So it's actually Mark Hamill from the dialogue was recorded in 76, 77, and they added it to a 2018 animated short. It just sounds really cool. I don't know. I thought that was
awesome.
a
Yeah.
major hit overall.
Oh, I didn't even realize that, because the only one I've seen is the Darth Vader one, and there's not a whole lot of dialogue going on in there. Plus, it's from a modern show, modern movie. So
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of the ones with Luke Skywalker, so I have to visit those.
Yeah, check that one out. It's because it's very noticeable hearing Obi-Wan Kenobi talk, because it's Alec Guinness. You know,
Yeah.
it sounds. It kind of has that like record tape sound to it, or it's kind of like crackly and staticky. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done. So yeah, another hit I already kind of talked about it a little bit is I love how over the top they were with all of these moments. It just makes it incredibly fun, and kids are just going to love that stuff.
Yeah.
One major miss, that's a major setback, I think, is so far they don't have any episodes featuring Princess Leia, which
I was
means
just thinking about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
there's nothing that focuses on her, and there are a lot of like little girls, young girls that
looking
would
up to Leia.
look up
Absolutely.
to Leia. Yeah. So I think that's a major miss that they didn't release. They had 2 Darth Vader ones. They could have dropped one of
Luke,
those.
Leia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You know,
and
they had
if
one for
they're-
Han and Chewie. They had one for R2-D2 and
Yeah.
C-3PO.
Especially if they're playing on the kid aspect. Most kids have siblings.
Yeah.
And so if they made some sort of, especially if they expand on stuff, if they made some sort of like cool sibling bond episode, that super excite kids. Or maybe I do like my sister. Maybe
Yeah.
I do want to
Yeah.
share my stuff.
In what sequence are they putting these out? Like, are they in actual...
No, it's all over the place. Like, the first one that was released, like I said, was the one where Luke Skywalker starts his journey. And the next one released was Darth Vader, Power of the Dark Side. And that one featured stuff that happened at the end of Rogue One. Then the third one that comes out was Luke versus the Wampa, which takes place in Empire Strikes Back. R2-D2, Loyal Droid, that takes place at the beginning of A New Hope. Chewbacca, the trusty co-pilot. It's not really clear like when that one was, because it's just Han and Chewie and the Falcon.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like all over the place narratively. So I mean, they could have thrown anything with Leia in.
Yeah.
I just think that's a huge
That's too
missed
bad.
opportunity. But one thing
It's
I
got to
think,
be coming, though.
oh yeah, it will be coming.
Yeah.
But it should have been released day one with everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's my one and only nitpick and my only gripe.
And how often do they release these episodes? Like once a week or twice or what?
That part's unclear too
Okay.
so far. They released these 6 episodes, and then also 3 other episodes.
Within 2 days, right?
Yeah.
So kind of sporadic how they do it.
They released the trailer on a Wednesday, and they released these 6 episodes on a Friday, and they haven't released anything new yet as of record time for
Gotcha.
us. But after they released these 6, they released 3 more that were called Galaxy Adventures Fun Facts. And they kind of give you like a brief rundown. One of them was about starfighters, and it kind of gives you a brief breakdown of what the starfighters are, and the Rebel fighters, and the Empire's fighters, and who pilots them, and like what their weapons and tech are. But then at the end of each episode, they would ask a question. You know, they have one for starfighters. They had one for Darth Vader, and they had one for Luke Skywalker. And so I wanted to ask you guys the questions that were asked at the end of this episode. Just kind of have a little fun with it. So on the Starfighter episode, the question was, what type of starship would you fly in Star Wars? And we'll start with Corey. Is there one that you've got?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I'm not a Star Wars fanatic, so I don't know the different types of like ships and stuff. I'm
Right.
not. So like,
Which
when you
one-
say when you say starship, what does that entail?
Anything.
So I could say
Star
the
Wars
Millennium Falcon.
vehicle.
You can say the
Boom.
Millennium
There
Falcon.
you go.
There.
Just because it's like the OG ship, I think, for
Right.
Star Wars, and Han Solo and Chewie at the helm. Like, I think it's cool. So
Sure.
yeah, just off, I think, not knowing Star Wars that well, I'd do the Millennium Falcon.
Micah?
But
I have to pick the slave one.
Nice.
And I really hope that wasn't Dad's, or I kind of do, but
It was
it is
mine.
mine, and I went first, so there it is. I like it personally because I used to really like Episode 2, The Clone Wars, and Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones.
Can't name things today.
That's okay.
But when Obi was fighting Jango, and he like gets in that ship, and you know how he's like kind of upside down,
Right.
Like he's basically laying on his back with his feet up. I was always like really interested in that. I know.
How
I was like, do
impractical.
they have their own gravity? How is his like knees are like touching the dashboard? Like, I was just so confused by that. But also that scene where it lifts up, and I always thought it looked just like General Grievous's face, like when the ship
Okay,
lifts
yeah.
up. I thought it looked
see
some
that.
sort of like creepy mask, and I was always really like entranced by that at like 10 years old. So that has always been my favorite. Just the fact that it lands horizontally, and then it lifts
Yeah.
up, and it's vertically when it flies, and it flies like the most like non aeronom like what's that word?
Aerodynamic.
Aerodynamic. There it is.
what is that, ergonomical?
Ergonomical.
Well, his seating is not very ergonomical when he's laying on his back, so
Ergonomic.
they both work.
When it flies just like a plate. Like it's like a
Right.
plate
Yeah, but
going
it's in
through
space.
space.
There's no
Yeah.
There's
no
no
resistance.
drag.
drag.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And so that always kind of cracked me up as a kid too, because I didn't really understand that. I'm like, why is this plate flying around?
That's
Jango
not
Fett.
scientifically accurate. Excuse me,
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Everything I knew when I was a
Actually.
9-year-old. But that was always my favorite for those like obscure reasons.
Cool. Chris?
Well, mine was going to be Slave One, but for similar reasons. I remember growing up, we had all the Star Wars toys, right?
Yeah.
And my brother and I used to always fight over Slave One. It was the coolest ship, especially as a toy. And you know, Boba was so like mysterious that probably one of a young kid's favorite
Yeah.
character, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, and so I loved that ship. We had to fight over who got it, and I loved how you stuck Boba Fett in there, and then you had to pop him up, like Micah said. The way his seating arrangement was a little funky,
Right.
and that was so much fun. So we'd fight over who got that. But Luke Skywalker was always my favorite character, so probably his X-wing would be my go-to, especially if I had R2-D2 sitting behind me. I'd take it.
Yeah.
And to add to that, the slave also, it was owned by Jango and then Boba and then somebody else. I forget who. Somebody repainted it and it was their ship. But for a long time, that ship had to just instill fear into the hearts of whoever saw it, because that was a bounty hunter ship. And that was not only but he was so well known, both his father and his clone. Like, they were very, very well known. And I feel like you saw that ship, you'd be like, well, crap.
Yeah.
I got to go.
Yeah.
That creepy disc face. Gotta get out of there.
That's cool. For me, my favorite ship is the Y-wing, the heavy bombers. I don't know. I was always loved those ships, especially in the trench run in the original Star Wars. You know, they were the workhorses. They were the heavy guns. You know, and when I was a kid, I don't remember what cereal box it was, but there was a cereal where you could send in this coupon, and they would send you back like this goofy endorsement saying that you're this rebel pilot, and the one that was sent back to me was Y-wing pilot. And so I don't remember if I filled it out or my parents filled it out, but I was an official Y-wing pilot.
Right, yeah.
And so that was another thing that I'm like, Y-wing, those
Mine
are
forever.
Those are my guys,
Yeah.
But then also I kind of like the feel of it. It's like this bigger, kind of clunky, heavy, sturdy thing, and it just makes me think about when I was
Like driving a tank.
yeah,
that
in
flies.
my early 20s, I had a Ford F-250 extended cab pickup truck, and you just felt bulletproof in that thing. Driving down the freeway, and your head's above other cars, and you just feel.
Tap me. I dare you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
feel
Ford,
safe.
but no.
Well, I did sell it because of mechanical problems, but I felt safe inside the shell. But as opposed to like an A-wing or something, that's kind of like a Miata. It would just crumble like a Pepsi can.
Don't hate on Miatas. You got the Miata over here.
Yeah. So, anyhow.
You guys play that board game. Is it X-Wing? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called X-Wing Miniatures. We'll have an episode dedicated to that. It's a really
all right.
Yeah, that's a really fun game that Chris and I got into. And
Nora Wexley, she piloted a Y-wing.
yeah, that's Snap Wexley's mom.
There you go.
Yeah,
Who's that?
we'll tell
Hero
you.
of the Rebellion. You don't.
Oh, okay. No, I have no idea.
Nerd.
My wife knows a lot more about Star Wars than I do. Okay.
That's obvious.
Okay, so the next question was for the Darth Vader episode, and it simply says, "How would you stand up to Darth Vader, Corey?"
I would probably try to reason with him, but I would not try to fight him. I would do anything to not fight Darth Vader, just because it's like a sure loss. But I would try to, I would be like the dude in the fight who just wants to talk things out. Hey, let's just talk about this real quick, okay? How about we just set the weapons down
me get your
and we
drink.
just talk about it?
I'm not gonna hit you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hit you. You're not gonna hit me. You don't want to do this, okay? Hitch. You don't want to hit me, okay?
You don't
Or marry
wanna-
me.
Yeah. But I would for sure be one to try to just like talk him down, talk him out of it. I don't know how it'd go, but I'd be the one I'd be the negotiator for sure.
Yeah,
You'd be dead.
Yeah. It would go from a 0% chance of living to maybe like a 3%
Right,
chance of living,
right.
just trying to
Uh-huh.
negotiate your way
Yep.
out of it.
0.6.
Yeah. Cool. Micah?
So when you asked that question, I immediately pictured like all of the nature documentaries I watch. When you're being chased by a rhino, right? You zigzag because
Serpentine.
you cannot run it. Right?
Serpentine.
That's what I feel like I would do with Darth Vader. Like, how many scenes can you picture in your head of Darth Vader like booking it? I have never seen him sprint.
He would
You've
just
never
force
played-
choke you as you
Yeah,
ran.
maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe I could round the corner and get out of there. Like, I would turn around and I would run because, like, I honestly feel, and maybe this is just the James Earl Jones like side of it. I feel like he'd probably like chuckle. Like, how bad
laugh
do you
at
want to come? How bad do you want to come chasing after me right now?
Right.
So I feel like turning around and booking it would be my personal option.
Serpentine out of there.
Yep, just get out.
Right on.
So what was the question again?
How would you stand up to Darth Vader?
Is it all about self-preservation? Because I'd probably just hit the fetal position and maybe start bawling, and he would just feel so
Have mercy on you.
Yeah, I'm not worth his time. So I really, how could you negotiate with that? We know his whole story. Nobody was ever successful except for, I don't think it'd go well.
Yeah, it definitely
Can't
wouldn't.
reason with him. So I just hope that I'd be so pathetic that he would just turn around in disgust.
Yeah, you're not worth my time.
I'm not worthy.
It's a good question because they all end in the same. You die.
It's
You die.
it's-
No
I'm
matter
not
what
gonna
you
die,
do.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna serpentine out
I'm
of it.
serpentining.
Yeah. For me, very similar to Corey, I would either try to reason with him or I would try and get inside his head because I know that
Right.
a lot of his confidence is fake. He's trying to put on these airs.
Yeah.
He's this big, scary monster. He definitely has the power to back up his bluff.
Yeah.
But Anakin is like, he's
Anakin's
kind
a
of
softy.
yeah, but he's also like arrogant and bullheaded, and you could get inside of his head. You know, I've read a few of the Thrawn, the latest Thrawn novel. Have you read that one, Chris?
I think
Thrawn
I started
Alliances.
it. That's as far as I've got.
Okay, there's a couple moments where Thrawn gets inside Vader's head, and he knows that he's Anakin Skywalker. I'm definitely not as smart and analytical as Thrawn, but if negotiation wouldn't work, I would at least make fun of him at a distance and see if that would, get inside his
Like,
head.
no, who's hot? Padme.
Yeah, right. It's strange coming from a lady.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
No, he just. I just feel like I don't know what emotion would come out of that, but I think you'd be taken aback. You could say that and then take my tactic and just book it out of there.
Yeah.
You'd still be like, what?
yeah. So that's why I chose to go last because I picked
Yeah.
all of your options,
Right,
and added them to my own.
First I would serpentine, and then I would.
You
That'd
didn't
be
say
tough.
anything about crying?
Oh, crying is like as I'm dying.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I got
okay.
you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
I
that
got
guy
you.
who's like
Wailing
with
as
General
you're,
Antilles,
like,
or Captain
streaking.
Antilles, who's being choked. We received no transmissions. I won't be that brave. All right, and the final question was for the Luke Skywalker episode, and it simply asks, "What adventures await you, Corey?"
There's a few. I don't have really one big one. We have a few small ones that we're doing as a family. Actually, later this month, we're doing a road trip down to Carlsbad, California for a camping trip on the beach.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that briefly last week.
Yeah, So it's only about a week, but it'll be a lot of fun doing a road trip. Obviously we talked about it last week how fun road trips can be if they're done right. But also we have a bigger trip planned, and we used to go to this place every year. It's a big family tradition. Is Yosemite National Park, and actually my new family, my in-laws have never been, so it'll be really cool to take them, show them around. My wife's never been, so it'll be really cool to show them kind of what we did as a family for years and how beautiful Yosemite is. But that's probably like the biggest trip for me, that my biggest adventure, I guess, that's coming up.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of add to that real quickly. Like you were saying, the whole family is going down there, and I think it's this May that we're going.
Yes, yeah.
And we plan on maybe not recording a full episode down there, but at least maybe getting a couple interviews with some of the family, and then we'll add that to either the tail end of an episode. So that's something
Live from Camp Curry.
Yeah, that's something that the listeners can look forward to coming in May.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, live from Yosemite, not the day job stuff.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Mikah, what adventures await you?
I mean, that's mine.
Yosemite? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, especially because Corey's mama is constantly like, oh, look at this cute picture, Corey. And I'm like, that's in Yosemite. Oh, look at this picture when he was 7. I'm like, that's also in Yosemite. And I just feel like, and especially you and your wife went down there when you were engaged, right? Or were shortly after you were married? Which one?
We actually
which one
got
was that?
engaged in Yosemite.
There you go.
So
even better.
both.
A lot
So-
of memories there.
Yeah, lots
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
super important memories. And your mom has been going there since she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so that's just like, I am excited to join.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, I've already joined
Super
the
fun.
family, but like going and doing something that's very close to everybody's hearts and very important to them, and just seeing and being shown. I'm excited to just like be like toted around. Look at this. Look at this. I'm just excited
Right.
for that. I don't have to do anything but look. I'm excited to ride bikes with Corey's dad down to coffee at ungodly hours. I'm excited
Yeah.
that we're going to go.
Before the sun.
Yes. Oh, I know.
And Micah really
I
wants to see a bear.
Love bears. And so I'm super stoked. I'm going to find one. I don't know if they're going to find me, but I'm going to
They're
find
pretty
one.
easy to find in
Yeah,
Yosemite.
it's not
yeah.
tough.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that.
They'll come
So
find you if you don't find them.
that's what I'm hoping. I was telling Corey's dad that I was going to start leaving food out if I didn't see one early in the trip.
Don't lock the bear box.
No, I'm
Just
not
leave it
gonna
wide
lock the
open.
bear box.
How close is your guys' tent to
Oh, we're
ours?
sleeping in the same
all
tent.
Next,
Oh,
no,
that's no good.
we're all next door.
Yeah.
We're lined up. I think everybody got their little concrete cabins to be kind of next to each other. So
They're called housekeeping.
You know what? Yeah. I'm just excited. I'm excited for all the family to be down there, both sides. I think that's going to be super cool. We just get to be introduced to everything that you guys have known for a while.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Very
And
cool.
bears.
And bears.
The bears.
The
The bears.
The bears.
Chris, what adventures await you?
I'm looking forward to that trip too.
Yeah.
I've never been there. We've been a lot of places all over the country, but never made it to Yosemite, Yellowstone. So that's a trip that I'm really looking forward to, because I know you guys are so excited about it, and I'm like, what are these guys so excited
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
He has no
So,
idea.
I have no idea. So it's a mystery to me. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I keep saying I'm excited for it, and Jacob specifically is like, no, you don't know what it's like to be excited for this. You won't know until you get there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can be excited all you want, but it's a different kind of excited that you're going to be.
Well, I think too, we live like in the Northwest. It is so beautiful and pretty, and we grew up in California, and so we moved from. In California, we went to Yosemite every year, and that was like, wow, this is really beautiful, because it was like out of the city, in the woods. When we moved to the Northwest, it was like, this is kind of like a smaller Yosemite. But even here, the most beautiful spots I've seen here in Oregon doesn't even compare to Yosemite. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that no picture and no explanation or no writing can ever explain how incredible Yosemite is.
Yeah.
And usually I try not to hype things up too much, because then your expectations are super high, and
My
then
expectations are through the roof.
reality will never meet expectation. Yosemite is one of those places where expectation can never outdo reality. Yosemite is one of the most magical places in the world, and
Yeah.
I'm super excited that the whole family gets to go. I've only been there twice, but it's
Is that all?
only twice.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you'd been there more than that.
No,
Once pre-Danielle, right?
No. The first time I went there, I went with
Oh.
Danielle and her family before we got engaged. We got engaged like in the middle of that trip.
Okay.
And then when we moved Corey's family down to Mexico, Danielle and I passed through, and I think we just did a day trip. We stayed outside of the valley. We stayed in Oakhurst, and then we went super early
Gotcha.
into the valley and just spent the whole day there. And we didn't do any hikes. We just drove around and went to a couple sightseeing spots, and we went to the spot where we got engaged and took some pictures. But still, I mean,
It's still been years, right?
yeah, so it's been since 2013 since
Yeah.
we've been there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Sweet.
So is that your adventure? What's yours?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. But Danielle and I just got back from an international trip. We spent almost 2 weeks in Mozambique, Africa, and in the short time that we've been married, we've been to a lot of places. You know, we've been to Canada a couple times. Of course, that Mexico trip. Went on a road trip with some friends out to Montana. We went to New York and Washington, D.C. So we've kind of got that traveling bug. And all of these things we've kind of done with other people. But
Big groups. Yeah.
Yeah, with big groups. And we've never really done a vacation, just the two of us with our own itinerary.
So you got some in the works?
Something that we've been kind of throwing around for a little bit is we want to go to Norway. Oslo, Norway.
That'd be sweet.
I've been fascinated with the
Norwegians.
Norwegian culture, history, and just the landscape. I mean, there's nothing official other than just like, hey, we're going to make this happen within the next 2 to 3 years. So
Nice.
that's something
a
that
big
we're
adventure though. That's fun, dude.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what we're looking forward to. Yeah, but it's kind of neat that all of our adventures are kind of like on the same page with going places and traveling. And I'm super excited that we all have that opportunity to go to Yosemite together and all have this shared experience. And again, like I want to commit some of those memories to tape and then, share them out there with our listening audience. So,
For sure, yeah. I think it'd be really cool to record there. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Interview a bear.
It was that?
And see a bear.
Interview a bear.
Interview a bear.
Interview with a bear.
That'll go well.
Yeah, right on. Well, we're going to keep this episode a little bit shorter. We don't have really a main topic that we want to discuss. A couple of highlights coming up this month, though. I don't know in what order. But one of the topics we'll hit is Corey, Garett, and I. The main topic will be about why we got into podcasting and what were our inspirations to get into podcasting.
Some of our favorite podcasts that we've listened to. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that's something to look forward to. I'm really excited about because this is a fun new hobby that we're all brand new at, and I'm having fun doing it. Another one is we're going to bring Mikah back, and we're going to talk about dinosaurs because dinosaurs are her obsession.
My jam.
She obsessed with dinosaurs.
At some point,
That's all I'm gonna say.
continuing.
Ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
Yeah. And then the last week in the month, so the episode that's going to air on the 27th of December, on the 26th of December, we're going to do basically like we did tonight and just kind of just do a brief what's good with each other, have a good conversation. And then we're going to release another episode on that Friday, the 28th, and that's going to be our own Star Wars special.
Oh,
Since Disney has bought Star Wars, this is the first year that they don't have an actual movie coming out in December. So we're going to get together and talk about what is about Star Wars that we love. What is it about Star Wars that we love? Mm-hmm. So I could have said that better, but whatever. Anyway, so we've got what it is about
Star Wars. What about it?
We know what you meant.
Love.
Exactly. You know what I mean, even though I don't know what I said.
I meant what you
Cool.
knew.
Right. So that's kind of like a brief highlight of what we've got coming up in the next 3 weeks or so. So we're just going to move right into our letters from listeners. And my first one comes in from Jaron Bear. And his question is simple in form, but deep in context. Is ignorance bliss? Who wants to tackle that one first?
Chris.
Mikah?
I don't think that question can be answered with a yes or no. And I'm not going to get too deep on it, but I think that, ignorance is so usually associated with children, I think, right? Like a 4-year-old, you're going to assume that they're more ignorant than a 32-year-old man. Probably.
I don't want to say any names,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of ignorant
4-year-olds.
adults.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I do agree with that. But I also think that feelings are more important. Like, this is not going well so far. When you see something, even if you don't understand it, and you can still be technically blissful or ignorant about that kind of thing, it doesn't mean that it feels right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, a kid can see something and be like, I don't know, I'm just going to go keep playing with my toys, but that's going to be something that he's going to remember or she's going to remember in their later life and be bothered by it. So I don't think that it's necessarily blissful. I just think they're not quite aware.
Yeah.
And I think that might be exactly the point. But also, part of my not day job, but I used to work with a lot of mentally handicapped people.
Okay.
And they were ignorant of everything around them. And there was nothing blissful about it.
True. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
I think that in certain situations, ignorance is bliss, but I think in most situations it is not. And
Right.
I can't come up with like a specific example off the top of my head right now, but I just think it's better to know what is going on around you than it is to not. Just because when you know more about something, you can have a better reaction to it. So that's just my take on it. If ignorance is actually bliss, not too deep, but that's what I
Sure.
think about it.
Chris, what's your take?
I don't think so. I don't think ignorance is bliss because just because you're unaware of something, it doesn't put you in that, what is bliss? It says perfect happiness. So your ignorance of what's going on around you doesn't mean that you're happy about where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
You're completely unaware. But I don't know. That's a tough one. Because if you don't know what's going on, you don't know about other people's misery or suffering or their state. Doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. You don't derive. I don't know. It's tough, but you wouldn't know because you're ignorant, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be so self-consumed, and it's kind of a narcissistic approach. All you're concerned about is yourself.
Right.
So, are you trying to be ignorant of other people's state? Are you trying to put yourself in like a state of ignorance?
Yeah.
Or are you just so unaware that you're constantly because then you're just
it's
a big dummy.
Are you ignorant on purpose, or are you just unaware?
Yeah.
Well, willingly ignorant means dumb on purpose. So no one really wants to be that.
No. You'd hope that you'd be conscious of other people around you, right? So you wouldn't be ignorant. You try to have like fellow feeling, right? So you want, unless you live totally isolated, then ignorance. But if you're surrounded by people, how could you be ignorant of?
Yeah. I think like for me, the whole like blissful side of it, I think it would be better as saying innocence is bliss, and innocence is very different than ignorance. Kind of like to piggyback off what Mikah was talking about, the ignorance you can associate with a child. I more associate innocence with a child, and that is blissful. I remember being a young kid running through the forest with my friends, or riding bikes with my friends, and
not a care in the world.
Exactly.
You didn't have these preconceived ideas of modern people that shove them onto you.
Exactly. There weren't any like social stigmas. For me growing up, I grew up in a very racially diverse area. And so to me, racism wasn't a thing until I got into middle school. And then I started to hear things that just blew my mind. I had to talk to my mom about it.
There goes your innocence.
And there went my innocence. Yeah. Seeing how ugly some people are.
Yeah.
So yes, I was ignorant to how terrible some people were, but it was more innocence. I think I kind of put more of a negative connotation to the word ignorance. And to me, ignorance isn't bliss. Ignorance is just ignorance.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers.
It's a negative.
Well, I wonder when that term came about.
Yeah.
Because how could you possibly be ignorant in today's society?
Yeah.
You're constantly bombarded with information.
Yeah.
But maybe did it originate 100 years ago, 200 years ago?
Right.
Because it would have been much more easy to be ignorant when you're, on your homestead, or when you only know a handful of people, or it takes 4 months for news to get to you.
Yeah.
When you can just go on your phone now.
Yeah.
Right, and it's right there.
Yeah. You're constantly bombarded, like it or not.
That's a good point.
And I think, my comment was more of what you were saying. I think that ignorance doesn't even register in my head as somebody that chooses to be ignorant.
Right.
It's like, why? It's impossible to be ignorant of the world around you unless you are physically incapable of understanding. Whether that be that you're a child or somebody that physically cannot. So innocence is exactly, I think that would be a great phrase, because that would be true in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But ignorance, I guess I never viewed it as a choice. So I guess that's a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so that's kind of like going back to, I guess, kind of like what we were saying earlier. Chris said, we don't know where this term or this turn of phrase came from, so maybe they meant it more innocence.
That's how
I don't know the answer, but cool.
Good question.
Yeah, thank you, Jaron Bear.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Jaron
Deep
Bear.
for just a few words.
Yeah. Our next question comes from capital G himself, Garett. He asks, do you see life on Mars within the next 10, 20, or 30 years? Corey?
I do, and I think it is, I'd go 30 plus.
30 plus?
Yeah. Just because, I think that even if there was a chance that someone could go up to Mars in the next 20 and live up there, they wouldn't allow it. I don't know why. I'm just saying, it just seems like they wouldn't allow it. So I think they're kind of even now, maybe you could even argue that people could live on Mars, but I just don't think that they're going to allow it or even let people do it until it's mainstream 30 plus years from now, is my take on it.
Sure. Good. Micah?
I kind of think, for humanity's sake, that Mars is kind of like the ocean. I think we're going to explore it. I think we're going to know a lot about it. But I think a lot of it's going to remain uncharted. And people could technically live in the ocean. I mean, people live in sailboats. But,
Yeah.
like, what stops us from building an underwater community? We have things that can hold the weight. We have things that can purify the oxygen. Like,
Submarines.
there's a reason we live here. And there's a reason we don't live in the ocean. And there's a reason we're not, like, going to live on Mars. I just think that we're going to explore it and we're going to learn. And
Like it's
gonna
not meant to be.
Super awesome. Well, I just don't think anybody will want to.
Yeah.
I think that people will pioneer it, and I'll go for a year or two, or I'll go and test it out for somebody, but I don't think it'd ever happen.
Yeah, that's fair. Chris?
So are the only options 10, 20, or 30? Or can
I think he was just kind of
All right.
just saying, within this time frame, do you see it?
Because
If
Chris
it's
is like,
further-
I'm moving there tomorrow.
Today.
In my mind, I'm already there.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah. Like actually colonizing Mars?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Here's, especially in that time frame, 10, 20, or 30, because they went to the moon
Right.
in 69, and don't you think that they would have had a trial run before they go to Mars? They'd have some sort of habitation on the moon.
Yeah. Right.
Because if
Yeah.
something went wrong, they could formulate a rescue plan. How long is it supposed to take to get to Mars?
Long time.
Long time. Something goes wrong,
Like 3
they're
times,
dead.
so.
There's
Yeah.
no rescue plan.
Right.
But if they had a trial run on the moon, I think that's what if their intent is to go colonize another
That'd be the next
body in
logical
space. It makes sense to do it one that's in our backyard. Basically, you do a trial run and then go to Mars. I don't
Right.
think
Right.
they should be. Well, why not?
Just jump right to it
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being
on,
facetious,
Jupiter.
I
but
get you.
it makes sense to do it in a body that's in your backyard before you go, tromping through the solar system.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify real quick my take on that. 30 plus years from now is when they would colonize Mars.
Right.
But I think that expedition to Mars or a trial run with like 1 or 2 people living up there for, I don't know, a week or a day or whatever would be like 20 years from now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go with it. Is I didn't even think about the point that you brought up, Chris. Is if they haven't done a trial run on the moon yet, then it's still a long shot off. But I was going to originally go with Corey's thought, saying I could see a team of maybe up to 10 astronauts going to the moon. To Mars within the next 20 years tops. I think the technology is there. But to actually live for extended stays and call Mars home, I think that's a long ways away,
Yeah.
if ever. But to actually put a man on Mars, we may see it in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to get some vehicle first because they had the space shuttle,
Right.
and they decommissioned that in the late 80s.
They have a
I
midpoint
believe so.
at least.
And
Yeah.
the Soyuz rocket's grounded now, so they have really no vehicle for.
Yeah.
They really got to step up their game if they have any sort of plan of doing anything really.
Yeah. Maybe, SpaceX might even be the people who go there before NASA,
Privately funded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because to me, it seems.
I did
like,
hear about that. SpaceX doing stuff with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It seems like, based on where we were in the '60s, early '70s, we've taken a few steps back.
Yeah.
yeah, the space program has come to a screeching halt in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because, they say we landed on the moon in 69 and we haven't been back in a long, long time. I don't think we've ever been back. I feel bad for not knowing the exact date, but I don't remember when the last
It was
moon,
in the '70s.
in the 70s. So
Yeah,
we haven't
one of
been
those
back to the
Apollo
moon
missions.
in
Jeez.
over 40 years.
Yeah, it was in the Apollo runs, so that was
Yeah,
back through the
right.
'70s.
Yeah, so that's not a very good telling sign for where their, I guess, priorities are. Like, if they don't want to go back to the moon, why would they want to put a man on Mars? Anyway, yeah,
If you could live on Mars, a little further with this question, would you do it?
I don't think I would want to live on Mars, but I would like to stay on Mars for maybe a month.
Yeah.
That might be too long.
A little
But
vacation on Mars?
yeah, most
Out of this world vacation?
expensive vacation of my life, but
Yeah.
it
right.
would be out of this world.
Oh, that was good. That was
I know,
good.
look, Corey teed it up.
Man. Micah, would you do it?
I don't know. The earliest you could get there is it says 300 days. I just feel like to go there to
A lot
see
of vacation time.
It's a lot of vacation time.
I don't have that much saved up.
300 days to travel there. So
You
that
have to
means
quit your job just to go visit.
that means minimum 2 years you're going to be gone. And to miss out on, I mean, there's plenty here that we haven't seen. There's plenty here that is to be explored. I mean, with the funding that you were going to go to Mars with, you could go to every island on Earth and find something that you think is beautiful. I don't think that not having air and seeing some red dust appeals to me.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I
Chris?
think we have red dust here, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take
that's
this
true.
red dust.
Yep.
Go to Arizona. It's just like Mars.
Would you do it, Chris?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
No,
me either.
not interested.
Like father, like daughter.
I don't know why it doesn't appeal to me. It just doesn't. I don't know why that is, but
I really want to go to space. I think I'd rather go to the moon than
Yeah,
Mars, just
absolutely.
because like I have this crazy fantasy of sitting in a recliner chair on the moon and seeing the Earth rise. Like
Yeah.
that's something I want to do. I know it's impossible, but
Because
that's
it's still your
that's in my
home,
head.
technically.
Yeah,
I mean, we look up and see the moon. We don't see Mars clearly. It's a star.
yeah, it's
you
a
know?
little dot. Yeah. Anyway, capital G. Thank you for the question.
good questions.
That was a fun
good
one.
one.
Yeah. I think that's a wrap for us
Keep
tonight.
those questions coming.
Yeah, everyone, please keep on sending us questions. This is one of my favorite parts of the show is getting these kind of off the wall questions and seeing where we go with them. It's always a lot of fun.
Yep.
Corey, thanks for coming back and recording with me.
Absolutely.
Micah, Chris, thanks for coming down and being guests tonight.
You guys
Yeah,
were
thanks
awesome.
for letting us sit with you. That was fun.
Yeah, we definitely want to have you guys back again sometime real soon.
Sweet.
Yeah, and of course we got Micah coming back for dinosaur
Dinosaurs.
episode, and I want to have another couple episodes with Chris, maybe when we talk about that Star Wars minis.
I like Star Wars.
Yeah.
He likes minis.
He likes minis. Very, very cool. All right, well, I'm going to give you guys a bit of business right now. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NotTheDayJobPod. You can also email us at notthedayjobpod@gmail.com. And again, send us your questions and you can become part of the conversation. We'll pick one or two of these questions and we'll feature them here on the show. Great way for you to be directly involved with us. Our episodes can be downloaded from iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. You can also find our entire catalog on the Podbean app. Also visit our website, which is www.notthedayjob.podbean.com. And again, I think that's a wrap. Does anybody have any closing thoughts?
That's a wrap.
All right, there it is. Not the Day Job Squad, punching out.